Welcome back, focused learners. Okay, so today we are unpacking a really wild, absolutely thrilling explainer of power scaling, reincarnation, and some seriously cold-blooded revenge. We're looking at a story that completely flips the script on your standard power fantasy. I mean, get ready because we're about to explore a universe where the ultimate weapon isn't just a shiny magical sword. No, it's a literal weapon of mass destruction in the form of a mythical dragon. So think about this for a second. What happens when a legendary demon slayer is executed, only to wake up in the body of the kingdom's absolutely most useless noble? It is such a massive hook, right? Imagine surviving 10 years of literal unyielding hell on the front lines, only to have your freedom ripped away at the last second. And then, boom, you wake up in a velvet-lined bed, trapped in the body of a kid whose biggest claim to fame is hiding behind curtains. This total subversion of expectations completely sets the stakes for the insane narrative we're diving into today. Okay, let's dive into this. We are looking at a sheer, almost laughable contrast between our protagonist's two identities. On one side, you have Raven Vault. This guy is a battle-hardened veteran, a framed aristocrat, and a demon slayer who spent a full decade surviving the absolute worst trenches imaginable. And on the other side, we have Aaron Pendragon, a 17-year-old bedridden soft boy whose favorite hobbies literally included painting and cowering from any kind of social interaction. The tension in this story comes entirely from taking Raven's ruthless, unyielding killer mindset and stuffing it inside Aaron's incredibly fragile outward appearance. To really get this, we have to look at the tragic timeline of Raven's previous life. 10 years ago, his deeply honorable family was framed for treason, and their entire estate was burned to the ground. He was shipped off to the front lines, which, by the way, is basically a suicide squad reserved for the worst criminals. But against all odds, he survives. For 10 full years, he becomes this unkillable one-man army. But then, on day zero, with literally just 2 weeks left until he finally earns his freedom, he is shockingly betrayed and killed by his own commander, a guy named Balta. And as he's dying, Balta reveals that the framing of Raven's family was actually an inside job from day one. But, death is kind of just a transition here. Raven wakes up 3 years after his execution, and he finds himself reborn inside Pendragon Castle. He quickly realizes, okay, I'm not in my own body anymore. I'm in the body of Aaron Pendragon, who apparently had been in a coma for those entire 3 years. And to make matters worse, thanks to Aaron's lifelong cowardice, the once legendary Pendragon name has hit rock bottom. They are officially the laughingstock of the entire empire. So the absolutely crucial point here is how Raven handles this situation. Spoiler alert, he doesn't play the victim. When Aaron's ex-fiancée Luna shows up fully intending to dump him and humiliate him, he hits her with this massive trope flip. With absolute confidence and this dangerously calm smirk, he just looks at her and says, "If you don't like the new me, maybe we should just cancel the engagement." And Luna is completely stunned. The curtain-hiding coward she knew is gone, and the power dynamic shifts in an instant. She came in there to break up with him, but his sheer, terrifying aura leaves her utterly captivated instead. From there, Aaron wastes absolutely zero time launching what we can only call the ultimate Pendragon glow-up. Step 1, instead of begging his ex-fiancée's family to stay, he practically extorts them to secure a massive buyout of gold and crystal deposits. Step 2, he immediately mobilizes his forces to absolutely crush a massive group of bandit deserters led by a traitorous former knight. And step 3, he sets his sights on opening the sealed family mausoleum to reclaim the true, ancient power of the Pendragon bloodline. He approaches noble politics with the exact same brutal ruthlessness that he used to hunt demons. And how exactly does a demon slayer go about building an army? Well, he gets creative. His squad is, let's just say, far from conventional. He recruits a harpy to be his aerial scout and a bunch of goblins to be trackers, essentially motivating them through sheer undeniable terror. But honestly, the best part is how he recruits the orcs. He doesn't use some fancy diplomacy or wave a royal decree in their faces. When the massive orc chief steps up to challenge him, Aaron responds with a point-blank, bone-crushing headbutt that instantly drops the guy and wins their absolute loyalty. He literally just speaks their language, pure, unadulterated strength. But all of that is just stepping stones for the true prize, the Soul Drake. Now, this isn't just some cute fantasy pet. In this universe, dragons are essentially walking tactical nukes. They are the ultimate weapons of mass destruction, and the catch is, they are only tameable by the pure Pendragon bloodline. Securing the oath of this Soul Drake is the absolute climax of Aaron's early quest for power. Without the dragon, his family remains a total joke, but with it, he instantly becomes a major, terrifying player on the global stage. To actually earn that insane power, though, he has to face the mausoleum's brutal trial. And the thing is, the soul drake doesn't just test your physical strength, it tests your actual soul. The dragon forces him into this nightmare where he has to relive the deepest traumas of both of his lives simultaneously. So he's forced to endure the sheer agony of his family being framed 10 years ago as Raven, while at the exact same time feeling the heartbreaking, helpless grief of a young Eren watching his father die 3 years ago. It is this terrifying, mind-breaking crucible designed to shatter him. But he doesn't break. Coughing up blood, literally pushed to the absolute brink of his sanity, he somehow manages to drag himself to his feet. He looks this mythical, overwhelming beast dead in the eye and delivers this incredibly epic line. "I am the rightful heir to the Duchy of Pendragon. I am Ravenvault." He passes the trial simply by refusing to choose between his lives. He merges his identities, accepts the massive burden of both, and successfully secures the absolute oath of the Soul Drake. And this brilliantly illustrates Eren's true genius, his ability to build an unstoppable coalition. It's a great reminder for all of us that raw power alone isn't enough. You need a powerful, trusted team around you to actually make an impact. With the dragon secured, he strategically curates an inner circle of overpowered, fiercely loyal misfits who are basically future legends. He's got the Soul Drake, who, by the way, can take human form. He recruits Ellen Isa, a wandering knight destined to become a legend known as the Stormbringer. He has Killian, his fiercely loyal knight commander, a literal crew of mercenary pirates, and even Ron, the secret master of the Tower of Twilight. Basically, he is assembling a fantasy special forces team. All right, so now that he has secured unimaginable wealth and power, his focus shifts entirely back to his ultimate goal. Who framed the Vault family? Eren begins to piece together the massive conspiracy that ruined his previous life. He starts systematically hunting down the corrupt nobles and military commanders who rigged the game against him all those years ago. But then, the story hits us with a massive, mind-bending lore drop, the ultimate twist. He finds out that in this timeline, the second son, Ravenvault, never actually existed. When Eren finally manages to investigate his old hometown, he discovers his family only ever had one son, his older brother. The very identity of Ravenvault has been entirely erased from history. He realizes, with sheer horror, that he spent 10 years bleeding in the mud to clear a family name that in this reality doesn't even recognize he was ever born. As you can imagine, this revelation triggers a massive existential crisis. If Ravenvault doesn't exist, why is he even fighting? Who is he? It's right here that his carefully chosen inner circle steps up to the plate. Ellen Isa, the knight Eren quite literally pulled out of the mud, grabs him by the collar and delivers this brutally touching quote. "If you fall, I'll beat you up. That's what a sword does for its master." It's exactly the kind of harsh, unsentimental kindness Eren needs to snap out of his spiral and remember his true purpose. Because of that, he realizes something crucial. Whether Raven existed in the history books or not, the will of his family still lives inside him. He embraces this ultimate duality. He is both the Demon Slayer and the Dragon Rider. Fusing the raw, blood-soaked combat experience from the Demon Corps with the overwhelming magical authority of a Duke Pendragon, he goes on the offensive. He systematically dismantles Count Brussia and the corrupt lords who poisoned his past. He stops running from the ghost of who he was, and he just starts weaponizing it. Which brings us to a question that should leave you incredibly hyped for what comes next. I mean, with the literal power of a tactical nuke dragon, a makeshift army of monsters, a hand-picked squad of future legends, and the utterly ruthless combat experience of a 10-year demon slayer, who can possibly stand in his way next? The board is set, the pieces are moving, and Eren Pendragon is no longer just surviving, he is out for conquest. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, focused learners. Keep asking questions, and I'll see you next time.